This is my angel remembering garden for 2022, and I've had a few plant changes and a few design idea changes. It doesn't look like much, and I guess if I thought I was going to be here forever, I would be ordering river rock, probably 2 or 3 wheelbarrows of river rock, and I'd be putting rock down where you see dirt. I'm still probably going to have to move. So by using containers and cacti, and I have a couple of other longer containers here, that one has thyme in it. And the drought we're having, you can see all the grass is dead. The drought we're having killed off the thyme, but it's starting to come back a little bit. I'm trying not to overwater because we're in a drought. I took out one of the big cactus pots and put in a sedum, and that was in kind of a broken pot. Doesn't look like much now, but that will actually fill in all of the bare space you see and make a very nice drought tolerant garden. I have a couple of other little sedums put in here and there. It's a place to put my plants. It'll be ground cover. I haven't decided yet whether to dismantle the whole garden when I leave, take all my rocks. You know, it's hard to find all these nice big rocks to outline. My father used to build a stone wall. He's Irish, and that's a skill of the Irish, to build stone walls, and so rocks are a big part of every yard I've ever had. Usually he would build a stone wall, so my spaces here are kind of outlined with piles of rocks. But this is the remembering garden. I've added more angels, and it turns out, in my case, it's doing several things for me. It is acting as a remembering angel garden. It's giving me kind of a blank canvas to work on drought tolerant gardening ideas. It's also connected to my car accident. I'm finding that, you know, when my head hit the steering wheel, I had certain images, and the 2 bricks you see right there and there are actually, I've got 2 more angel statues coming, and it's going to make an H, which is, I have to get to the hospital. And it's like a flash moment that happened to me, like, I have to get to the hospital. So anyway, gardening brings these things out, and you can use them as a positive. Now, what I had done temporarily was take all of the rocks with the names on them and put them in other containers I had out by the front door, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. And the reason they became an issue again, I had used a permanent Sharpie marker to write the names on the rocks. I felt that would be the most permanent. And yet, after a month and a half at the most, all the names were fading. So I knew I had to do something, and this is a bright yellow toy bin my son used to have that, you know, it's a bright yellow toy bin, and what am I going to do with it? I'm going to keep it outside now, and I've started to put the rocks in here. I was bringing them in and out every night in a bucket. I'm going to leave them out here, and they're like a bright yellow flower garden. And what I'm doing with each of them, I added a new rock. Evan Hernandez, Venezuela. So it's becoming a painting project. When I was a kid, I used to paint rocks. So now I'm going to paint their names in acrylic, and then when I feel like it, I can add flowers to them and put, you know, use that as a painting outlet. So one of the main rocks is a 7800, and that's because of my personal life, that it's a main rock, 7800 plus MIA Korean War. I can add flowers to that whenever I'm thinking about them. So the whole idea of an angel remembering garden can continue past a garden season and however you plant a statue garden. If you have more religious statues out, you can put, say, the name St. Francis on a rock and add flowers to it. And it's not quite like praying, but it's giving your attention to something you want to give your attention to. So all the rocks that I have with names on them of missing, detained, hostage, my family members, living or dead, just anybody I want to remember. Right now they're in the house to be painted, and then my yellow bin here is going to be an outdoor painting project where it's so relaxing to sit on the back step with a pot of paint and paint flowers, and building a permanent remembering garden by adding names and flowers in paint, which makes it a little bit easier from the gardening horticulture aspect, but also this becomes a garden. That becomes a garden of flowers, remembering the people we've either lost or that are missing or that we want to remember. And then that can come in the house, and I bring the whole garden right in the house. That's a Rubbermaid container you might be able to find. I wanted that one when my son was little because he kept his stuffed animals and things in there, because it was more like a toy box, a traditional toy box. The curved lid means it's not stackable, and those little things like that mean it's an individual, and so it's going to work perfectly for gardening. This is a basic set of acrylics, and this is becoming a whole art project for me. This is James Foley, his name, his rock, and perhaps him being kidnapped by ISIS is what led me here, along with the missing from the Korean War. A simple, cheap, this is about $22, $23 for 24 colors of Liquitex Basics. And for me, this is, so I've got the angel statues in a garden. I've got the yellow bin, like I showed you, that I can keep these in. But these are becoming my canvases. You know, George Bush Jr. Paints, he's an oil painter, and he paints veterans or soldiers. A lot of times when you're involved with the military, or in my case I have PTSD myself, art is a way of getting it out, of talking about it, of expressing it. And you know, I can't do much for the people that are missing, but I can remember them. And because I need to move, and I still have 24 trees in containers, so those are really my most active garden probably. And this allows me to paint a garden without keeping it contained on one canvas. So this is still in magic marker, but I can go over this with black acrylic, and then when I feel like it, add flowers to this whole rock. And then at some point I put them all back into the Angel Remembering Garden, and I've painted a garden. So it's a wonderful, easy, cheap idea for anybody who's lost somebody to COVID, anybody who, you know, maybe your job has changed, and if you were a graphic artist before, or doing something else, even if you've never been an artist. I used to paint rocks when I was about, I don't know, 6 or 7. And it seems like, oh, this is kind of childish. It's not at all. It's a basic truth of expressing yourself and interjecting yourself into a garden. And by picking up loose rocks that would damage a lawnmower or pop up and hit somebody's windshield, you're actually helping the environment. And putting them around your own containers, or just, a lot of people buy rabbits and squirrels and stuff and put them by the front door. Paint your name. Paint your own name. And put a rock by the front door with flowers on it. It's fun.